this panel is talking around open source, startups, commercial, and kind of everything in between. So we've got some unique panelists on the stage. So I'll let them do an introduction themselves. But for those of you who don't know me or those who are watching the recording, hi, I'm Ethan Sumner. I'm the co-founder and CEO of CommunityStack. We're on a mission to build the next generation of social infrastructure. We run 21 communities, 10 conference brands. We build platforms and kind of everything in between. So I'll let Victor go next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor. I work for Dash0. We are a observability platform built natively on the CNCF project, Open Telemetry. That's the connection to open source things for this talk. In terms of revenue experience, I've been first on the ground, breaking into the European territory for the last few companies that I worked for.
Yeah. Awesome. Could you pass the microphone to Sean?
Okay. I will not be silenced. Hi, everyone. I'm Sean. I was the last loud man on the stage a little while ago, so you know a fair chunk about me. For the benefit of the people on the recording, I'm Sean. I'm the founding technologist of Technologist, my own firm. We build whatever I feel like building, optimally for the betterment of people that want to use the things that I find interesting. It's going pretty good. Right now, I'm focusing on building cloud platforms and trying to make technology more equitable for the greatest number of people. So it's good fun, good fun. Lots of Python. Go.
Awesome, cool. So I am a moderator for this session, but I've got quite a bit of experience as well, so I thought I'd jump in since there's only three of us. So firstly, what are the biggest operational challenges AI native startups and startups in general are kind of facing at the moment? So from product focus to hiring through to sales, funding, customer trust, what's your viewpoints on the kind of the whole startup go-to-market landscape?
On the go-to-market landscape, I think you have funding is really, really concentrated now on AI and AI-related things. So even companies that are not AI, we probably see it all the time, is like, oh, we're an AI company now. We've hard pivoted. I attended some conferences last week, and almost every single banner is like AI for this, AI for that, like harness, all AI after code. It's like, I thought they just did CI/CD before.
Cram AI in anything these days.
So that's kind of the challenge as a go-to-market person, is how do you rise above that noise? How do you differentiate? How do you make sure the messaging that your marketing produces creates thought leadership? And then how do you execute when you present in front of customers to make sure that your messaging is clear, differentiated? When they walk away, they remember, oh, this is what this company does, not just like, oh, they do something with AI. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, much the same lines. I think like the signal to noise ratio these days is incredibly off kilter. Everyone is screaming about all the things they think you want to hear about, and it's really hard to pull facts and base truths about what things can do and why they can do them. That makes it really hard, like for people that want to purchase like software or products, to make a decision that's informed. And you know, the way that I'm kind of, let's say, working against that right now, but working through that is to try and meet people where they are and be as open and honest about things as possible. This is the reason I'm at CommunityStack today, because there are people here I can have conversations with. I can hear what they're doing. They can see what I'm doing. It's not just another, I'm going to keep swearing, it's not just another wanky post on LinkedIn that, that again, is one of millions that happen every hour, if not every minute, right? It's so, so hard. If you don't have that authenticity, if you haven't spent time building that trust, showing that you're the guy that can do the things that you say you can do, then you are just going to fade away into the background. And I think that is amplified very much right now by the absolute overpromise of what things can do. As you say, this is us. We do X, but now with AI, and we do Y, but now with AI. It's like, right, but my dude, I just want to like run a server. What's AI got to do with it, right? And I think that noise will die down in time. I think we're starting to see people try and be a little bit more realistic because it's actually costing them money. And a lot of the time, they're not seeing like an actual return on investment. Like there are absolutely use cases where AI has been a great enabler and accelerator of processes, of functions, of business functions particularly. But I think they will bubble to the surface. The noise will flow away. It'll be easier to be heard again in time, provided, of course, the internet is a place for people and not for whatever agentic hype man you've got going for you these days, which is actually one of the few things I think LLMs would be quite good at. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole kind of AI landscape is interesting, and I think every organization sometimes has to pivot. It's like we originally focused on DevOps, cloud communities, and obviously now we've had to kind of look into the AI space. And even today it's a cloud native and open source conference, but we've had to put AI on because that's what people want to speak about, and that's from selfishly from a commercial standpoint, that's what companies sometimes want to sponsor as well. So I think actually the businesses that are, I like Dashir, very much open source, heavily focused. I know you do a lot of incredible AI stuff, but you are very much focused on the DevOps, the true, because I think a lot of enterprises, a lot of big organizations haven't really cracked AI yet, or they've got that true investment just yet. So the ones who are kind of sticking to their roots and being open source, being focused, are actually doing really well in the market. I think that's awesome to see. Any kind of thoughts on that before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think you touched on trust. That's so important, right? We remember what CEOs say, we remember what they do, we remember the actions, and it causes me sometimes to look at companies differently. OpenAI is a great example of that, with all the things that have come out, who they sponsor, who they donate to. You're like, what they say. Maybe not Sam himself, but like the president of the organization, certainly. So it makes you scratch your head and go, is this a company that I trust within my own enterprise to run? And then two, is this on a personal level, do I want to give my data to this company, and what are they going to do with it?
I think, and I think, we're already seeing that authenticity thread playing out in the marketplace with the competing companies. OpenAI very much, the throwing the technology out into the world, saying, hey, we're going to do this and change all these things. And Anthropic being like, we're going to be the company who does all of that, but responsibly, with your data staying safe and secure. They're already towing that line, and it has made a real difference. Like, Anthropic is now larger, I think, than OpenAI. Yeah, and they weren't a thing a year and a half ago. And that turning point for them really was when the US government was like, hey, we're going to sanction you if you don't give us the things that we want. They're like, okay. And now, for their sins, they're worth over $1 trillion, allegedly, right? So I think that's already played out in a very real, tangible, material way for these companies. And I think more and more people, if they don't start trying to find that authentic voice again, they will just fade into obscurity. Because people still make the decisions, right? We have the money. We decide where it goes to. And if you don't trust the people we're spending it with to do the right thing by us, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the kind of whole, it just kind of shows, I think it's a good point to touch on, is that the market is moving so quickly. Is at the start of this year, it was very much how much tokens they're using. You kind of saw all the, the kind of the memes, if you like, on LinkedIn and places and Reddit. And it was kind of like, I'm using 10 million tokens a month. Why are you only using 9 million? You're slacking as an engineer. And then actually, for those who are watching, it's currently kind of June 2026 as we're speaking about this. And obviously in the recent weeks, there's been workarounds. Companies spending $500 million on AI credits very quickly and burning through the entire thing. And obviously, that's not sustainable long term. And we had a fantastic panel earlier around the kind of hiring and discussion around it. And actually, AI is getting to a point now where, they're saying, it's going to replace junior engineers and engineers in whole, but actually can start to be more expensive. So I think just kind of moving into a kind of a one and a half question, if you like. But in terms of the industry moving so fast, how as an organization, we can link it into our next question. So founders building in this space, what should they be doing now to create a company, that's still reliant, defensible, and valuable in 3 to 5 years' time? How would, if you, well, obviously I think, particularly for myself and Sean, we've created startups in the past year. How do we make sure that they're still here in 5 years?
Excellent question, Ethan. I decided to go deep and specific on one area. You can't be all things to all people at the same time. You can certainly have a starting point and expand beyond that, but having that kind of foundational core piece that is solid, I think is the way to kind of go from this point on, particularly when it's very easy to do anything now in very real and useful ways, but not quite 100% of what you actually need for the thing. And so, with fledgling, I have sat down and I've worked with that intentionally, deliberately, me making all the decisions, writing all that code, because I need to understand it, right? It's my cornerstone. It's the foundational piece of what I will do next. Natter was an example of going, well, what can be done? What can be used with it practically? It's like, well, here's another thing. I'm going to solve the second problem with the first solution to the first problem. So it's going deep, having that cornerstone, and expanding from there. I don't think if you're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, you're going to be able to make a decision about what you should be doing next. Because you'll get tons of data points back, sure. Which one's important, which one relates to, which one's going to drive you to get up in the morning and actually fucking do the fucking thing, right? Like, that becomes impossible to disseminate when it's all noise. So I think depth and quietude is probably the way to go about it, and just do good work well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think depth is so important, right? When you can write 10,000 lines of code in 10 minutes with AI, the challenge becomes what to focus on. Some companies get so lost building so many products, 10, 15 products, that are quite horizontal but not very deep. None of them do a good job in one specific domain, right? Our company at Dash Zero, we believe observability is a big problem. It's going to be a problem in the next 3, 4, 5 years, and it'll continue to be a problem. So we act as a nervous system, if you will. So we think this challenge will still be around for businesses in 4 or 5 years. That's how we look at it. And for any founders that are looking, especially in the SaaS and the software space, like, is this still going to be a problem in 4 or 5 years' time? You start there, and then you ask yourself, okay, we have that. What's my vertical? What's my ICP? That becomes one of the first things you need to define as a business. Who are my customers? What's the ideal customer profile? So often, startups fail because they try to move away from their ICP too quickly. They're like, okay, I did a lot of interviews, and one of the interviewers asked me, okay, we have our ICP, but I want you to really think about how do we get other customers that are not in this ICP? I'm like, what are you guys doing? You have 40 people right now. The total addressable market is $1.5 billion, let's say. Like, do you have 100% of your TAM captured? No, then like, what's your revenue? Less than $1 million? Like, focus on that. Like, why don't you grow a little bit once you capture 50, 60, 70% of your ICP, of your total addressable market, then look beyond. But until you get really good and really deep at the problem that you're solving, know your lane, stay in it, swim really fast in it.
No, I agree 100%. And one thing, for example, at Community Stack is that we have a wide range of communities who've kind of got a portfolio, and obviously our kind of ICP, it's quite a unique one because we've obviously got sponsors who obviously sponsor events like today, or we've got people coming to attend. But one thing we kind of do is very much stick to our true roots of communities are everything, and whether that's a kind of technical community like you're all here today for, and we obviously do the work with the third sector and charities as well, because we view that as equally important. And we've kind of gone from building events to building the platforms and kind of everything in between to support that. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, and I do agree is that certain startups that I've met have kind of they've done all the Y Combinator kind of stuff. And I think YC is a great program, for the record. I've got nothing wrong with what they do. But, they go raise the 500K for 8%, and then they go on to get like a £3 million pre-seed or something like that. And then they last about 6 months, and then they're just gone. They say they're acquired, but they're actually acqui-hired, and they don't get any money. So it's a really interesting kind of market. And also just how fast people move. Like, I was at AI Native DevCon last week at an exceptional event, and just the amount of startups that focused on Claude Code. And I'm like, well, Claude has only really been in the enterprise for about 6 months now, for most big enterprises. And even then, they're still rolling out. So they're right, primed. But it's kind of like, I'm like, well, what did you do 9 months ago? And it's like, oh, well, we were building stuff for OpenAI, but it's not hot now, so we're doing stuff for Anthropic. And I'm like, right, okay, fair enough. And no doubt there'll be a new AI vendor on the game next year that's come out of nowhere, and then they'll go, oh, we do it for that now. It is a really interesting game. And actually, as someone who doesn't run an AI startup, is that we may run AI events, but we don't have any AI features in our products at all. And that's partly by design, because that's not what our end user wants, is they want a bit of support with AI, but it's not the focus. So we're very much the open source part, and it's an interesting kind of dynamic. So we've had our 2 questions. We'd like to open the floor to audience. We've got time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Has anybody got one?
My favourite colour is red, and I like long walks on the beaches. Just in case anyone was thinking
For
that.
dogs and cats, no. There you go.
I think one of the vibes I've picked up, and I wasn't here all day, I confess, but is I feel like trust is becoming a really big currency in this. So I work in media. Let's be honest about it. Making video is pretty easy now, right? You can make TikTok, you can make YouTube, I wouldn't say anyone can do it, but you put your mind to it. A few tools, not hard. And equally, technology. We've got vibe coding. You can build an app. It can do whatever you want. Like you demonstrated earlier, you can build a video conferencing app. You can build I know someone who's tried to build a LinkedIn app, right? A LinkedIn replacement, right? But the interesting thing about that is that he's built a LinkedIn replacement, but nobody's interested because nobody's on it. And also, people are going, "Well, who is this guy?" And why would I give all my personal data to some random guy? And I know LinkedIn's a bit Microsofty, and but I kind of trust them more than some random guy. So I guess that's where I come back to, which is this idea of trust and how. All right, as you rightly said earlier, we've lost trust in people like Zuckerberg, of course, and Facebook, and we've certainly lost lost a lot of trust in Sam Altman, but we're kind of. It feels like we're kind of looking for who to trust, right? And the random guy who turns up and has a new thing, by the way, is not the first person that you want to trust, right? Because they might be selling a scam, right? So this idea of trust and how we verify it and how we prove it, and actually, it's almost, to me, feels like it's become more important than any of the other things that we're talking about. Because how do you verify yourself? How do you be authentic? How do you convince people that you are the person, the startup, the entity, whatever it is that they should trust to do whatever it is that you're selling them? And that maybe is the secret. Would you agree with that? I think that sounds like it's on your ballpark.
I mean, so part of the reason I called my company Mitchell Technologies, Mitchell was my old family name, my paternal grandmother's surname, is because it's the family name. We're quite proud of it. It's old, it's Scottish, it's what we are. Right? It's personal. And it reminds me whenever I do something that it's attached to me forever by virtue of birth. So I better do a bloody good job of it, otherwise it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life as well. Right? I think products and projects and even companies these days are such ephemeral, disposable things to so many people that it can be about, we did the YC, we got the fundraise, we got, $500,000 to go and do this thing, and then they evaporate into the ether, right? And they may have made a lot of noise, but there wasn't a great deal of heat. I think it's important to take pride in the things that you do. And I think by attaching that to, like, my family's name, I have a responsibility to not be shit. Now, to trust, you have zero reason to trust me, the lot of yous, all right? Because I've just rocked up here today, swore a bunch, and told you I've got a thing that you'll probably want at some point in the future, right? Or at least I think you ought to want. What I also have is 15 years of experience of doing exactly this at some of the biggest companies in the world. So I have a legacy there to a degree. And I do have, I think, importantly, a reputation as well. I know Ethan through the things that we've done in the past in adjacent spaces, much as I know plenty of people who do it. The people who are using Fledgling today, and there's not very many of them, I haven't let a lot of people on the platform, are people that I've sought out to try it out and work with and get their feedback. It's building that core team, that core base of people that really want the thing, so that when I do put it out to the wider world, other than agreeing to like 24/7 pager duty for the rest of my life, right? It's something that, it's not just me saying, hey, I think this is something that's going to be useful. It's other people who have been in that ecosystem as well going, we use it, and it's something that we want to keep using. It's having, again, I think why community stack is that community part is the critical thing. It's all about people at the end of the day. It's all about our relationships and our responsibilities to each other, right? No one can live apart from everyone else. It's not possible, right? You eventually need someone to help you get food unless you're going to go hunting in the Highlands and live in, a shack with a solar panel. It's not really, a way to do things. So I think having a group memory almost, right? Paying attention to what people say, paying attention to what they do, holding them to the measure and the mark, right? Like we do now with Sam Altman, like we're doing increasingly with the Anthropic CEO, whose surname I can never remember, but his first name's Dario. Like we are assessing the actions and history of Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg, right? Life is short, but memory is long. And we have to act upon the things that we remember, right? We can't just forever go, it'll be fine. There's no options, or there's no alternatives. There's always alternatives. You can fucking build something, right? But then you have to hold yourself to the mark as well. So I think it is just doing the right thing as best as you can, hoping to God that people notice. That's why I get up in front of stages and shout about things to people. Might go nowhere, but I'll be able to hold my head high.
Yeah, and you talked about trust on a personal level. We say in business, like people buy from people, so your reputation is important. But to tie it back to this conference and open source, right? That's why open source exists, is because the community trusts it. We look at a project like Kubernetes. Google doesn't own it anymore, right? It's evolved far beyond that. It's owned by a large community of people that have all contributed to it, whose contributions, by the way, we can all see. It's transparent. So rather than tying trust to a single person or a single entity, I think that's why we love and trust open source so much, is because it's transparent, it's community-led, community-driven, defensible.
I agree. I think also around, it's looking at your data aspects as well. I think going back to what we were discussing earlier, and very interestingly, is that a lot of the companies behind the AI organizations are based in the US and, or different areas of the world. And obviously there are different economic factors or wars, for example, or different kind of things that go on. And I think as the UK, with sovereign AI and a lot of the work, we are now trying to build out our own local AI area and also try and promote, I'm very proudly from Barnsley, the UK's first tech town. We're actually the biggest startup in Barnsley. There's only 9 of us, so we're getting there just yet, which is good. But again, it's the kind of actually taking a previous industrial town like Barnsley, which 50 years ago, prior to the miners' strikes, was just full of miners. Like I come from a long generation of them, and then now we're talking about AI for the NHS, doing AI for kind of citizen good and stuff, and it is fantastic to see. So I think for a lot of organisations is that they do want their data locally. There's GDPR, there's other kind of data protection areas. I'm not an expert in this space, but it is something which is evolving. So it is interesting to see. I think a lot of people are now starting to migrate away to more European organisations or British organisations. And actually in London, we've become a hotspot now for AI. If you go to King's Cross, 20 years ago, it was quite funny. My uncle was a police officer based in King's Cross, and he said, I wouldn't go there with a barge pole. And then obviously now, you've got Anthropic paying £630,000 for a mid-engineer or whatever they call themselves these days, and it's like a member of technical staff. So it's kind of these investments can fundamentally change an area. I've never seen Barnsley so much in the news. I was shocked also on BBC. It was actually the health secretary that told me. It was quite funny. But anyway, I'm rambling on now. But yeah, so any other thoughts on that one?
Mitchell Technology is the only cloud provider based in Luton. That's about it. But no, that's great stuff.
Awesome. So we're out of time, unfortunately. But I'd like to say a quick round of applause and a thank you to our incredible panelists for being here today. Thank you.